Hi, my name's Amanda and welcome to Self. On this podcast, I like to share ideas, experiences, and have conversations to explore the self. By developing our own self awareness, we can better show up for ourselves and for those around us. Today's episode is all about the breath, conscious breathing, what it is, how it can benefit our lives. And I'm also going to guide you through a really short breathing exercise that you can do from wherever you are that will hopefully help get you out of your head, into your body, and back into the present moment. So I'm now recording in Port Douglas in Queensland, Australia, where I have moved to after leaving Japan. So I wrapped up there a couple of weeks ago and then spent some time in Perth with my family, my partner, and then I've moved here to be here indefinitely, which is really exciting, given I've been on the move for the last 7 years. So I'm in the tropics, I'm on the Great Barrier Reef. It's pretty incredible. And yeah, that's just a bit of a life update, I guess. So I really wanted to record this episode and to talk about breathing, particularly after being inspired by my conversation with Jenna Switzer. So if you didn't listen, those were the last two episodes before this one, where she and I spoke about reframing the meaning of pleasure. She's a holistic sex coach, and so we spoke about pleasure in the context of the bedroom and particularly, most importantly, outside of the bedroom. And then how to really be present. And obviously, one of the things that we spoke about was breathing. And so I was just reminded of the power and the necessity of conscious breathing. For those of you who don't know, I'm also a yoga teacher and I've practiced more conscious breathing for a long time. Obviously, as a free diver as well, that kind of is incorporated into it. So, what exactly is conscious breathing? Obviously, all of us can breathe, right? But conscious breathing is different to our regular normal breathing because you don't have to think about breathing normally. That's that unconscious breath. And I bet right now you're probably bringing awareness to your breath. Maybe you've taken a bit of a deeper breath. Maybe you can feel it in your chest or in your belly. But what conscious breathing is, it's a technique where we bring awareness to our breath and then intentionally control it in a certain manner. So if you've ever gone to a yoga class or a breathwork class, typically, well, obviously for breathwork, there's going to be conscious breathing. But if you've gone to a yoga class where, often classes will start with some pranayama or just a breathing exercise where you are told to breathe into your belly, for instance. It's different from our usual breathing and normal breathing because we breathe unconsciously. There's no actual effort, conscious effort to manipulate, to control, or to change your breath in any manner. Perhaps, for instance, if you go from walking at a regular pace and you're just breathing normally and you begin to speed up your pace, you'll notice that you breathe a bit more rapidly, and that's kind of just an automatic reflex that happens, and that's what breathing is. Whereas conscious breathing, as I said, we're bringing that awareness and that control to it. Conscious breathing practices have been incorporated in the East almost as part of like medicine, and is a part of healing and improving wellness. And I think now in the West, that's starting to become the case as well. And we're really understanding that there are so many benefits to conscious breathing. And some of those are that it reduces stress, anxiety, depression, it can lower blood pressure, improve cardiovascular health, and it helps you to relax, maintain focus, which overall improves your mental well-being, helps to improve your creativity, your productivity, and ultimately what it does is it activates our parasympathetic nervous system. So when we experience stress or an external trigger of some kind, if the body or the mind senses danger, the nervous system goes into a sympathetic state. And I'm sure you've heard it called before fight or flight mode. And now there's freeze and fawn added to that as well. And what happens there is we get an elevated heart rate. Your body might react in a few other different ways as well. You begin to breathe more shallowly, more from your chest, more rapid breathing. And so in that moment, coming into a conscious breathing exercise, coming into control of the breath to slow everything down, allows you to activate the parasympathetic state. This is our rest and digest state. So constantly living in a sympathetic state is not good for us. By activating this parasympathetic state, we can think more clearly, we allow everything to slow down, and then we're able to make clearer decisions. So how do you apply a conscious breathing practice, particularly in those moments where you might feel overwhelmed or anxious? For me personally, by practicing this over many, many years and trying to maintain a daily practice, I'm not always that great at it, setting a time and routine, but generally speaking, there's always a moment in the day when I really come back to my breath. I believe that by creating that habit slowly over time, in the moments when you really need it, it's almost automatic. So for me now, when I do feel some kind of emotional trigger, or I feel very overwhelmed by lots of things going on, I think particularly for me over the last few weeks, lots of moving and just stress, I have spent a lot of time stepping back and then coming back into my breath, and that's been really helpful. So to practice this form of conscious breathing, there are a few different techniques you can try. So one of them is just breathing into your diaphragm, breathing into your belly. And all that is literally moving your breath. So you might notice that you breathe from your chest more. So first thing is even actually just becoming aware of where your breath is. If you just sit there and notice, am I breathing from my chest or am I breathing into my belly? And if you are breathing in and out of your chest, then just shifting that awareness and consciously allowing your belly to expand as you breathe in and then come back in as you breathe out. Another breathing exercise is alternate nostril breathing, also known as Nadi Shodhana in Sanskrit, and that is breathing in through one nostril and out through the other, and then breathing in through that nostril and then out through the other one. And so it's bringing balance into both sides of your nostrils. And then finally, you can also do some box breathing, which, if you can imagine a box, you breathe in for a certain count. For example, breathe in for a count of 4, hold for a count of 2, exhale for a count of 4, hold for a count of 2, and then you can continue that. So those are a few different exercises. Those are ones that I do commonly like to teach in my yoga classes. But for this exercise that we're going to do together, if you are listening at home or somewhere where you can close your eyes, and I recommend that you do so, take a seat somewhere comfortable. That can be on a chair, on the ground, even on your bed, even laying down, wherever you feel comfortable. And then roll your shoulders back and down, close your eyes, and then just be here for a moment. Now, if you're listening to this and you're driving, please don't close your eyes. You can still participate in this from the comfort of your car, but notice and allow your body to relax. So just notice what's going on. If your shoulders are perhaps a bit lifted as you're holding the steering wheel, can you just allow your shoulders to drop down, to relax down your back? And then begin by taking a slow, deep breath in through your nose, deep into your belly, and then sighing it out of your mouth. And this time you'll do it again. Breathe in through your nose into your belly. And you'll pause at the top and then breathe in a little bit more through your nose and then let out a big exhale out of your mouth. And this time, do that again, perhaps slowing down your breath a little bit more. In through your nose, taking a pause when you get to the top, and then letting the exhale out as slowly as you can, out through your nose or out through your mouth, whatever feels more comfortable for you. And then you can repeat this, just focus on filling your lungs with air, filling your belly, filling your chest, and taking a nice full breath and then really slowly letting it out. And when you do that in this controlled manner, as I said, you trigger that parasympathetic state because we can't breathe. Typically, we aren't breathing deeply and slowly if there's danger around us. So by doing that, the body feels at ease. You feel a bit more relaxed. You can let go of some tension that you might be holding onto in your body. And if you haven't felt that yet, then just do that for a few more rounds, or even simply breathing into your belly. You can close your eyes. You can place one hand on your chest, one hand on your belly to really notice that air expanding in your belly. And then just breathing into that space in and out of your belly. Okay, so yeah, that's it for today's episode. I know that this is something a bit different to what I normally share as a yoga teacher and a free diver and someone who practices breath work and pranayama in my daily life. It's just such an important part of my well-being, and so something really important that I felt had to be shared with you guys as well. So as always, thank you so much for listening or for watching. If you are, you can follow this podcast on Instagram at self_podcast. You can follow me at Amanda Letran. That's Amanda Letran. If you would like to buy me a coffee in real life, if we met, if you find value from this podcast, and I'd really appreciate you donating to my Patreon. It's a labor of love here, this podcast, and honestly, I do it because it's stuff that I'm really passionate about and hope that it brings benefit to other people in some way. But yeah, if you'd like to contribute and to help me out, then I would also really appreciate that. Otherwise, simply by listening, by sharing, by subscribing or reviewing the podcast, that also helps. So thank you so much for your time. I release episodes every Thursday, and I will see you next week. Bye.